This is Markin Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Follow on Twitter. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Marking Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Brennan likes fisting. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. We're marking out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans.
Welcome to Markin Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. This is episode 710. Thank you for listening. Make sure you check out our previous episodes at markinout.com, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and Spotify Podcasts. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating to go along with that 5-star frog splash. Also, buy a t-shirt at prowrestlingtees.com/markinout. Give us a like over on Facebook. Give us a follow on Twitter at markinout, on Instagram at markinout11, and also on TikTok at markinout. That being said, I am one of your hosts, Dave the Rave. You can check me out on all social media platforms at DavidPTDPT. Follow Brandon at BTTG161 on all social media platforms, and Chris at Chris Sweendog on Twitter, and CM Sweeney85 on Instagram. That being said, introduction done. Brandon, how are you?
I'm doing awesome as always. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. How was your week?
Well, last week, we didn't have a super full episode because last Thursday I caught a flight down to Orlando, Florida. Super early in the morning for me.
How early?
Well, for me, I think it was 9 a.m. Got to the airport around 8 o'clock? I don't know, 7? That doesn't make sense. There was an early number. I was up at like 5:30 that day. I don't know. Which is typically the time I go to sleep.
Yeah.
But I ended up really not doing anything that day. I went to Boatwright's for dinner over at Port Orleans Riverside, which in hindsight, I feel like I shouldn't have done that. But I liked the food. The waitress gave me another loaf of cornbread to take home with me or to take back to the room, so that was dope.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went there another night, and she remembered my name, which was pretty interesting. It's pretty cool. But on Thursday, that's really all I did was have my flight super early, and then I should have really gone to a park, but I was just so like tired, I guess.
Yeah,
from
sometimes it's so hard to, like, when you fly out, to really give it your all and make the most of a day when you're really exhausted.
And also the weather was like garbage.
Mm-hmm.
The whole time I was there, for the most part, was garbage. I went to Whispering Canyon Cafe for breakfast on Saturday. That's the
what kind of food is
breakfast. That? All you can eat breakfast skillets. It's like scrambled eggs. I get the turkey bacon, turkey sausage. You get a biscuit, home fries, Mickey waffles. All you can eat.
Those are always all the talk and all the rave.
Yeah, and that's my favorite breakfast spot. Because
Why?
It's cheaper than all the other places, and you get unlimited breakfast.
All right.
Like if you go to a buffet, it's like, I don't know, I don't want to put an actual price on it, but it's a lot more than what Whispering Canyon is.
Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like if I did the breakfast deal again, I would probably get to eat breakfast early, but I would probably eat at the park, I think.
Yeah, you'd be spending, depending on what you get, I guess, you'd be spending more than that, though. But, I mean,
Very
again,
true.
if you're not going to eat the unlimited, then it doesn't make sense to get that.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
I went to Animal Kingdom. I got my annual pass holder magnet, finally. I went to Dino Land, just in case it's not there by the next time I'm there. I went to
What's
It's Tough
Dino
to Be a
Land?
Bug. It's the spot inside Animal Kingdom. There's a portion of it where it's like a kid's jungle gym. Dinosaur is there, which I did not ride on Dinosaur. I don't like Dinosaur. So I don't care that it's closing. I might go back on it one more time if it's still open when I'm there next time. And then it's like basically as if you're at like a not a street fair, but like a carnival, a street carnival sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like Goofy walks around as I think as a carnival barker. I think. And a bunch of other like, it's like a parking lot sort of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'd go to the Greek festival. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that whole land is closing for a new land. I ate at Garden Grill by myself, which is a character dining. I don't need character dinings. It's way more expensive, but that's an all.
Did any characters come over to you?
Yeah, all of them. And I requested no, but they didn't understand. Like they weren't taking no for an answer, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so you get Mickey, you get Pluto, you get Chip and Dale. And
So I'm guessing you took pictures with them?
I took a picture with Mickey.
Okay.
Pluto wanted me to scratch his head. I was like, nah, I'm good. And the attendant outside the restaurant was like, oh, he wants you to scratch his head. I was like, I know that. I'm not I'm not doing that. It's like one time I took a picture with Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, and Pooh goes in for a hug, and I was like, nah, I'm good. And he starts doing like his like miming, like crying and stuff. I was like, you could hug Tigger. I don't need to hug you.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm good with a fist bump, brother. But yeah, so I went to Garden Grill, and most of the food or some of the food that you're eating there is grown on property, which you could see on Living with the Land, which is the restaurant rotates. So you'll see parts of Living with the Land while you're there too. So I think that's pretty cool. I think my one regret there was not eating enough salad. I wish I got another salad there. But I was stuffed anyway. And then I wanted to try to get on Tiana's Bayou Adventure in Magic Kingdom. I didn't get the virtual queue at 7 a.m. But I ended up getting into the virtual queue around like 1 p.m. But the problem with that is that it poured most of that day. And my group wasn't actually called until 8:30 p.m. And I was long gone from the park at that point.
That sucks. So you didn't get a chance to go on it?
No. I was on the train, and they have scenes when you go through the mountain. You could see into the ride. So I've seen that part of it, but I haven't actually been on the ride. And I'll get on it eventually. I don't know when they're taking away the virtual queue. They finally took away the virtual queue for Tron, and it apparently had like the lowest wait times, which was very surprising. So I feel like they're screwing people. I feel like they should just do away with the virtual queues. Because how are you going to tell me that Tron, you have to get a 7 a.m. virtual queue for Tron, and if you miss that, you have to get in a 1 p.m. virtual queue for Tron. Tons of people waiting. And then you do away with that system, and it's like a 30-minute wait? Come on. That seems like you don't need a virtual queue.
Yeah.
So I'll get on Tiana's Bayou Adventure eventually. It looks really nice outside, so I think that's cool. I did I went to the new Country Bear Jamboree show. I definitely miss the old Country Bears show, but
what made it new?
Well, they changed the characters' clothes, and the songs are now country versions of Disney songs.
Okay.
So I get it. I get why they did it, but I just miss the old show.
Mm-hmm.
And then really that's all. I went to Hollywood Studios another day. I finally went on Tower of Terror with my niece and my brother. She was on it once before, but she was still scared, but she liked it, so maybe we'll go on it again someday. I don't know. So that's all. I went to the Muppets too, just in case. I really hope they don't close that, but just in case they make an announcement, say, hey, we have some bad news for you. Monsters Inc. is going to the Muppets Courtyard.
Oh.
Which I'll be so disappointed if they do that.
I mean, it's very likely.
I don't think so. I think
You don't think so?
I think it has to go into the Star Wars part. Launch bay. Because that's literally just nothing. There's nothing there. You go in there, there might be a meet and greet. They have outfits and stuff, I think, from the Star Wars franchise, but there's nothing there.
I mean,
There's
what
no
about
value.
what about where the hotel is?
That's a different part of the park.
What
That's
are they going to do
completely
with?
different? I don't know. Who knows?
Because isn't that totally like down?
That is closed right now, and it's completely themed to Star Wars. If I was Disney, I would gut it and do a Taylor Swift themed hotel. I'm not even joking. Sounds like a joke. It's not a joke. I guarantee you they would sell out every single night. There's no way they wouldn't.
Yeah, but you probably have to get licensure authorization.
Well, obviously they would
which I
have
don't
to
think she's
license.
signing away.
I think if Disney
Yeah.
and Taylor Swift did some sort of partnership, she would 100%. She'd be like, okay.
I don't think so.
Well, that was pretty much my week. Also, I back in New York, I toured the not really toured, I walked through the TWA hotel.
How was that?
I want to stay there. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It takes you go into the elevator, it says present day JFK or 1960s TWA. Those are your two options. And then you go to the TWA hotel, and it's literally as if you're watching a movie. It's really crazy. All the music is from the 60s. All the decor is from the 60s. They have cars from the 60s outside. I don't know what the rooms look like, but I know Chris has stayed there before.
That's
it looks like
cool.
it looks really cool. I would really like to stay there. So that's my week. How about yours?
Ooh, that is a good question. Thank you for asking. It was good. It was good. I don't think I did anything to write home about.
Well, guess we should talk about some pro wrestling.
Yes, let's talk about the pro
SmackDown.
wrestling.
SmackDown from last week, just to do a quick rundown. It was the final episode on Fox. You saw Bayley pick up the victory over Tiffany Stratton. Apollo Crews picked up the victory over Giovanni Vinci in like 9 seconds. That was very interesting.
Yeah, I don't understand where they're gonna go with Vinci with that.
Well, we'll see what happens with that. Kevin Owens beat Austin Theory and Grayson Waller in a triple threat, which he talked both of them into. Eventually, we saw A-Town Down Under argue with one another. Kevin Owens ends up winning, and they beat him down, and I thought Randy Orton was going to make the save, but that didn't happen. This week, I'll talk about it in a second. There's a tag match. We saw Chelsea Green beat Mia Yim, which I was not expecting, but there was a referee distraction spot from Piper. No, there was a I think Chelsea distracted the referee, and then Piper hit that senton outside the ring. And then we saw the Bloodline pick up the victory over DIY and the Street Profits, which was a setup with the start of SmackDown with Cody Rhodes calling out Jacob Fatu instead of Solo Sikoa. And then these two teams came out to back up Cody Rhodes. I really liked the hot tag spot in this match because it's something we haven't... I don't think I've ever seen that before. There was a hot tag where Dawkins and Johnny Gargano got tagged in at the same exact time. And the referee was like super confused and like playing that off perfectly. So I liked that hot tag spot led to Johnny Gargano and Angelo Dawkins working together.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty cool. But that's SmackDown. Moving over to Monday Night Raw, which kicked off with the Wyatt Six picking up the victory over American Made in a street fight.
I thought that this match was the perfect match to start off with Monday Night Raw, especially with it being WWE week.
This was fun.
Exactly. I don't think a street fight of this magnitude, especially with having so much diversity within the matchup, wouldn't be fun.
And I liked how everyone mixed in together. We typically don't see women and men in the same matches like that, so I thought that was good. I liked when Rowan used the barricade as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
The leg drop from the top rope through the table from Dexter Lumis to Brutus I thought was nice. Chad Gable hit an angle slam through a table from the middle rope. I thought that was cool. And then Nikki hit that German suplex on Chad Gable. And then Uncle Howdy hit a crazy Sister Abigail on Julius Creed. And Dexter Lumis and Eric Rowan did that aided splash to, I think, was it to Chad Gable to get that victory?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a well done match.
Yeah.
After
I agree
that,
with you.
After that, Finn Balor came out. He spoke about Damian Priest holding him down. And he called for Damian Priest and said that he turned him into a sidekick. And that Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley are going to fall in the same night. He wants him at Bad Blood. The Judgment Day then jumped Damian Priest. He held his own at first. But they put him down, and Rhea Ripley tried to make that save, and Liv Morgan showed up. Everybody was calling for Jey Uso to make the save, and Jey Uso made the save.
Yeet.
I thought that was a good segment, too.
I agree, and the fans, I gotta say, the fans brought it on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, and then the Judgment Day later on interrupted an interview with the LWO, which led to Rey Mysterio challenging Finn Balor, which I'll talk about in a moment. Later on, after that, though, we saw Dominic pick up the victory over Dragon Lee. JD McDonough got Dominic's boot on the rope, and it led to the two groups outside the ring to brawl. And Liv Morgan ends up picking out the leg of Dragon Lee. And Dominic hit that 619 and a frog splash to win. I was not expecting Dominic to win that.
But why not?
His last singles, televised singles victory was in January.
No way.
Yeah.
No, legit?
Yeah. That's why I was expecting him to 100% lose.
Singles, so his last singles win was in January?
Televised singles match.
Why does that sound wrong?
It's not. His last televised singles victory. He's been on quite the losing streak on TV.
That's insane.
So I wasn't expecting Dragon Lee to lose that. Fast forward even more, we had Rey Mysterio pick up the victory over Finn Balor via disqualification, where both groups were banned from ringside. But we saw Finn Balor have Rey Mysterio locked in a submission on the ropes, and he just didn't let go. The referee called for the bell. Finn Balor continues the attack after the match, and that was that.
Yeah, nice little attack and stuff. Next up, you had Jade and Bianca pick up the victory over the Unholy Union to retain the championships. So that's the rematch clause, and now what happens to the Unholy Union?
It wasn't a rematch clause. They won the match. They became number one contenders.
True. It should have been the rematch clause. They did win the number one contendership, but now what happens to them? They fall into the void.
Yeah. I don't think anybody expected anything else with this match, but I did like when Jade Cargill went for Jaded. I think it was Alba who rolled through it, and Isla Dawn hit her with the super kick. I thought that was a really nice spot, but I just feel like there was nothing else you could have expected from this match.
Mm-hmm.
And I still really don't like that tag team finisher that Bianca Belair and Jade do.
I would like to see it change up, but...
And also, Damage Control put them on notice later on, so I get... And again, they said last week, or whenever it was, that it was most likely supposed to be Damage Control who was supposed to win, and they changed it because of that Kyrie spot. I don't know if that's accurate.
Oh, that's interesting. Next up, you have the best there is, the best there was, the best that there ever will be, Bret Hitman Hart, making his return to WWE.
Is it a return, though? I don't know if it's necessarily a return.
I mean, he took a little break. A little bit of a break.
I mean, he's in 2K24, so...
Yeah, he was brought out with Wade Barrett and ESPN guy.
Joe Tessitore.
Yep.
But Gunther interrupted this, and I know you had said you wanted Dominic to be involved with Bret Hart, and obviously that would have been great heat.
Yeah, I think we said both Dominic or Walter Gunther.
I don't think we said Gunther. I don't remember that.
I think we did. I think you may have said it could be Gunther too, and then I agreed with you. I feel like we said both of them, but...
Well, I think this definitely helps Gunther, and it helps put the World Heavyweight Championship over big time.
I agree with you.
Gunther popped the absolute heck out of me. He said Bret Hart will always be a close second favorite of his, with his first favorite being Bill Goldberg. I wasn't expecting that line from Gunther at all, given everything where Bret, every single interview, he talks about Bill Goldberg in such a negative light. But Sami Zayn interrupted this. I wanted to mention that he was wearing a Johnny Gaudreau jersey, and WWE later on paid tribute to him and Matthew, which I thought was very, very nice for them to do. Don't drink and drive.
Yeah, so sad and awful what took place. So it was good that they were able to do this and pay their respects.
Yeah.
Just
awful. How could you not when you're at that arena?
Yeah, don't drink and drive. It's just so awful.
But Sami Zayn challenged Gunther for the championship again, and Gunther, I think, hit a very good line here. He said, Bret Hart isn't in my league, and you are far from Bret Hart's league, so the answer remains no. And then Bret Hart called Gunther a coward. And then Gunther and Sami Zayn went face-to-face before brawling ringside, and that was the end of that. And I thought that was a perfect setup because we're probably most likely getting Gunther versus Sami Zayn.
I mean, I think that... Didn't they already set it up officially?
I'm not 100% sure.
But I thought that it was a solid segment. I did think for a moment that it would have been interesting if Gunther did chop Bret, but that's 100% not happening. And
I don't know. I wouldn't say not 100% not happening.
I felt like Sami stepping up to Gunther, I didn't like too much. I didn't like Sami Zayn leaving the ring to get in the face of Gunther.
Why?
I don't know. I thought that he could have stayed in the ring with Bret Hart and kept the distance between him and Gunther. I didn't think it had to get physical at all. Yeah, I thought I would have been okay without the physicality. But talking about physicality, Lyra Valkyria, Zelina Vega, and, can I use it now? The returning Natalya. Picking up the victory over PFC. Welcome back, Natalya.
Yeah, Sonya Deville interrupted Lyra Valkyria's entrance to question whether or not they even had a partner. And then it turned out to be Natalya, as I expected. It was not Becky Lynch. It was not Tatum Paxley. So I was happy to see Natalya. Zelina Vega got a hot tag to Natty at one point, and Natty took out PFC, but Sonya Deville and Shayna Baszler got Zoe Stark out of a sharpshooter. And then Lyra Valkyria and Zelina Vega took them out on the outside of the ring. PFC tried to stop another sharpshooter, but Zelina and Lyra Valkyria locked Shayna and Sonya Deville in their own sharpshooters, and Natty won with the sharpshooter, of course. So it was a really cool image to see the three of them doing the sharpshooters to get that victory.
Wait, not all of them had the sharpshooters.
Didn't they? Weren't they all sharpshooters?
No, I think Natalya had a sharpshooter, but I think the other two had different different submission holds. I think Valkyria had a single leg crab for some reason.
There's no way.
Yeah, I think Valkyria and Vega had single leg crabs in there.
Oh, you're right. Zelina's got a Boston crab.
Yeah.
And Lyra's got a single leg crab. Yeah, look at that.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought for sure those were all... But it also works out. You got the Walls of Jericho there. You got Lance Storm's single leg crab.
I didn't think of that. That would be actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, it could be. You never know.
That would be interesting if that's actually the legit reasoning why they selected those submission holds.
That's funny that I just automatically remember in my head a sharpshooter.
That is really funny.
And then later on, Bret Hart met up with them.
Hold on. I do want to also make note that during the submission holds, you had Natalya. I forgot who she put the submission on, but Natalya tapped out her person. But I don't think Sonya Deville.
Tap.
What's that?
I assume Shayna Baszler also didn't tap then.
Yeah, I don't think the other two tapped for the submissions. So I kind of like that aspect where the person taking the fall tapped out while the other two didn't tap out. I don't know if that's going to play into anything as them being stronger than the third person being well, actually we didn't tap, you did, you cost us this match, and then boot them out of the group.
I don't think that'll happen. But visually, if I was collecting autographs, I'd want that signed by either the 3 or 6 of them.
Yeah.
But like I was saying before, Bret Hart met up with them later on to put Natty over. Natty was trying to put Bret over, and Bret's like, no, this is you. This is your night. I wish that segment didn't get cut off, but I thought that was pretty cool to have Bret do that.
It felt so weird with the cutoff.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all.
Yeah, I was just I didn't know what was taking place. But, yeah.
After that, we had Drew McIntyre come out and say that he's not done with CM Punk. He also told Wade Barrett not to get in his way again. They're best of friends or whatever. But he'll get angry and do something about it. And Adam Pearce showed up before anything could actually happen. And he questioned why you would fight your own friend. And Adam Pearce told Drew McIntyre that CM Punk is also not done with him yet. And announced a Hell in a Cell for Bad Blood, which is an anniversary Hell in a Cell. Because that was, I think, to the day, the very first Hell in a Cell in WWE.
That's wild.
At Bad Blood. A lot of controversy this week with WWE Shop and that CM Punk bracelet.
Oh, yeah. Victoria.
Where WWE Shop was selling replicas, exact Larry and AJ replicas, without getting permission from the woman that actually made it for CM Punk. Just for CM Punk. And then WWE Shop took it down. For some reason, our tweet from that blew up. I don't know why. But then WWE Shop put up a replica of it with CM Punk instead of Larry and AJ.
And everybody's like, they should pay her royalties and stuff. She's not getting royalties.
Yeah, well, she said she doesn't want royalties or whatever. I think she's getting a meet and greet with CM Punk and tickets to a show. So I think that's dope. And I'm sure they'll joke about it whenever she meets Punk.
Exactly.
So I think that's a good thing. But
and honestly,
I do think she should have been either compensated or given a heads up over that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's business.
Yeah, but you created something, you should pay a creator of making that.
That I do agree, but for some reason, I don't even think they even thought about something like that. Just because it was a kid that made something.
I don't think is she a kid?
Yeah,
I was under the impression she was an adult. I don't know.
I believe she's a kid.
I don't know. I thought she was an adult.
I don't know.
But
believe she's a kid.
Main event of Monday Night Raw saw Jey Uso pick up the victory over Ilya Dragunov, Braun Strowman, and Pete Dunne to become the number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship. Throughout the night, we saw Braun Breaker speak to all four of the contestants. The match itself was very chaotic. But for me, the best spot of this match, the best spot of the night, maybe?
Say it. I agree with you. My mark out moment of the week.
Bronson Reed coming out of nowhere. After Braun Strowman clears off the commentary table, he bodies Braun Strowman through that table off the barricade.
Incredible.
I will say that the spot where Pete Dunne almost beat Ilya Dragunov was very, very nicely done, because I wasn't expecting Pete Dunne to be the winner there, and I was like, oh, he's going to be the winner. But Jey Uso ends up kicking Ilya Dragunov after an H-bomb. He hits an Uso splash on Pete Dunne and picks up that victory. I don't think Jey Uso is going to beat Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship, but we've said it so many times, I would still like to see him win singles gold.
I am torn, actually. I actually am torn on this.
I don't think you could end that championship reign yet. Because if Braun Breaker loses that title, where does he go?
I agree with you with that one, that it would be very confusing with where he goes next, but I definitely can see that taking place, though.
And for me, that episode of Monday Night Raw really flew by.
Yeah.
Not something that happens all the time. They did make a huge announcement during Monday Night Raw that
talking about flying by.
October 7th, Monday Night Raw will be switching to 2 hours leading until December, is it 30th? The end of its run on USA Network will be 2 hours. And then once it switches back, once it switches to Netflix, I believe it'll be 3 hours again. Maybe it'll be 2.5, maybe it'll be 3. It'll be a runtime that they get to control because they don't have anybody to answer to. Except for Netflix, I guess. So
yeah, it's
a lot of people. Okay. A lot of people are celebrating it. Some people are disappointed. At first, I was like, "Oh, that sucks," but also at the same time, like, "Hallelujah!"
Yeah. So tell me. So where do you stand? So where do you stand right now?
It is disappointing to get less, because I just know they're gonna not put women's wrestling first. I feel like they're gonna take that away. Give it to us less or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I'm just hoping that even though that we're losing an hour of Monday Night Raw, we don't lose content. If that makes sense.
Yeah. That definitely makes sense. I could definitely understand that.
NXT is 2 hours and they handle women's wrestling very well. SmackDown, sometimes you can get a 5-minute match and that's it. Mm-hmm. So it worries me with stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely looking forward to it because I get tired very easily. I can't last the full 2 hours of Monday Night Raw anymore. So I am all about this.
Well, so that's Monday Night Raw. Moving over to NXT, it was announced by Ava that the Rascals couldn't make it to NXT. They didn't really give a reason why, but later on, we did have Wes Lee lay out a challenge to Zachary Wentz for the first match, not the first match, the debut show on the CW network. So I assume we're going to get that again on the CW network. Mm-hmm. But the match that was supposed to be Axiom and Nathan Fraser defending the titles against the Rascals turned out to be the Street Profits. And it ended in a no contest, but it was really cool to see that version of the Street Profits in NXT.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Montez Ford at one point threw Nathan Fraser into the ropes, causing Axiom to fall, and it seemed like the Street Profits were going to win the championships. I didn't think that the Street Profits would win the championships, but it very much so seemed like they were going to. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't, in my head, think of a way out of that where they weren't winning those titles, the Bloodline showed up. Jacob Fatu, Tongaloa, and Tama Tonga, and took both teams out. That was completely unexpected to me.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. And it was by orders of the Tribal Chief. They're currently doing stuff with the Street Profits on SmackDown, so it makes total sense.
I loved it. I love that they came out of nowhere, too. Nobody expected it. The crowd popped huge for it, too.
Yeah. After that, we saw Julia pick up the victory over Chelsea Green. I think this was a good showcase match for Julia. The discourse that went all over Twitter last week after that G-Trigger was very, very unfortunate. The video, the camera angle, and everything that was involved with that. This week, I think, was so much better, and we got to see more of what Julia is actually capable of.
I agree. It was a much better camera angle and stuff.
And overall, I think that was a good match, and Chelsea Green is the perfect opponent for her.
Yeah.
After that, we saw...
I think she made her look really good in this match, too.
I mean, Julia makes Julia look really good, but...
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Chelsea Green... There's no taking anything away from her either.
No.
We saw Charlie Dempsey pick up the victory over Javon Evans to retain the Heritage Cup. Pretty even in round 1. But Charlie Dempsey got the first fall in round 2. Javon tied it up in round 3. And then Charlie Dempsey had Javon Evans locked in a chokehold, which was broken by a suplex. Charlie Dempsey ends up locking in another chokehold and held it after the bell rang, which Cedric broke it up. And I guess you could say ref's discretion there because he did hold it after the bell. But behind the referee's back, Tavion Heights shows up. He's been out in Japan, makes his return to NXT, takes Javon out behind the referee's back, throws him back in the ring, and Charlie Dempsey gets that victory. So No Quarter Catch Crew stands really tall there.
Yeah, and I think that Javon Evans still has a lot that he's going to be doing with us, with NXT, with us. Jeez.
Yeah.
Next up, you had Obafemi pick up a victory over TNA's very own Hammerstone. I thought it was definitely a solid matchup against Obafemi, and I was happy to see Hammerstone in WWE's NXT ring.
Yeah, NXT Anonymous earlier in the day had put out a video of Tony D'Angelo talking to a mysterious person. People thought it was Omos, and I was like, I don't know if he's tall enough to be Omos. People thought it might have been... I forget who else I saw people throwing out, but it turned out to be Hammerstone, and that was really awesome to see. It was a non-title match, but I think it was awesome to see Hammerstone match the strength of Obafemi.
Mm-hmm.
And Obafemi, even though Hammerstone for the most part was able to match that, Femi hit that powerbomb to get that victory. So, here's hoping we get more Hammerstone in NXT.
I agree with you. I think that he has star written all over him. You know,
absolutely.
Next up, you had Jordan Grace pick up the victory over Sol Ruka.
You missed a match there, brother.
Oh, Ridge Holland. Ridge Holland picked up the victory over Duke Hudson. Ridge Holland, full-blown heel now.
Duke Hudson, as soon as that match started, firing on all cylinders. I don't remember what specifically happened. I know Riley Osborne ended up hurt at one point, and Ridge Holland took over the match, and which Duke Hudson had a tiny little comeback from, but Ridge shut him down. He continued the attack afterwards, while Thea Hale begged him to stop, and much like Eric Rowan on Monday Night Raw, Ridge Holland used a piece of the barricade as a weapon. And then he DDT'd Duke Hudson onto it.
Mm-hmm.
Should they have done similar spots? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But
I don't think so either.
But they did.
It's one of those things where I think communication has to be done. Be like, hey, this spot is going to be taking place.
Yeah, especially in the same week.
Yeah,
Monday and Tuesday. Like that's. I'm not saying the spot was garbage, but I like the spot, but you gotta. It just doesn't make sense. Back to back. Come on.
Yeah.
But like you were saying before, Jordynne Grace, there was an open challenge, picked up the victory over Sol Ruca via disqualification. They did tease Julia and Jordynne Grace backstage. So whether or not we get that, I don't know. Part of me doesn't want to see that because we know, I mean, at least I know the path I want for Julia.
Uh-huh.
So maybe we can see that happen on TNA television, but something would have to happen where Julia's not losing and Jordynne Grace isn't losing in the same similar situation like Jordynne Grace and Sol Ruca.
The only thing I could think of is if there was some sort of a
DQ
count out or a DQ.
Yes, it has to be a DQ. So
yeah.
And I think this match itself, Jordynne Grace and Sol Ruca, I think it was a good match for Sol Ruca.
Mm-hmm.
I like Sol Ruca reversing the Muscle Buster. She reversed the swinging slam with that DDT. She countered the Juggernaut. How do you Juggernaut?
Juggernaut.
That was goofy. The Juggernaut driver. And ultimately, Jordynne Grace, she hits that Muscle Buster, and then the lights go out. Rosemary shows up, and Wendy Chu ends up choking Jordynne Grace out.
Yeah, I mean, this is based off of what happened on TNA as well. Following up with it, where you had Rosemary or somebody knocking out Jordynne Grace, and then there would be a pillow there.
Well, I mean, I would assume that was Wendy Chu with Rosemary in the crowd there.
Yeah, I mean...
And then backstage, you had Lyra Valkyria and Tatum Paxley talking about Rosemary and Wendy Chu. And then Ava was talking to Julia and Funaki. Later on, outside of that, and Roxanne came in. They went back and forth, and Julia...
Huge pop for Funaki.
What?
Huge pop for Funaki.
Oh, yeah, big time. His big return to NXT. I think the last time he was on NXT TV was with Hideo Itami.
Oh, wow.
But Julia basically said that Roxanne is scared. And Roxanne was like, no, I'm not. So Ava's like, we're not doing this. So I think that was a nice inclusion of all of them there. Main event of NXT saw Trick Williams pick up the victory over Pete Dunne in a last man standing match to become #1 contender. I think they definitely went all out for this match, but I felt like there was something missing from this. We had a barricade spot earlier in the night with Ridge. We had a street fight with the Wyatt Six and American Made on Monday Night Raw, and that was like such a good match that maybe that took away from this.
It's possible.
But we saw Trick hit that trick shot. I thought that was it for Pete Dunne. But Trick Williams ends up clearing off the commentary table. The match continues. Pete Dunne power bombs him onto that cowl of the commentary table. And then Pete Dunne dragged Trick Williams into the crowd and then up onto that platform and hits a Russian leg sweep off of that through the table. I was not expecting both of them to go through that. I was expecting Trick to like somehow maybe hit Pete Dunne with a knee, and Pete Dunne flies off that, and boom, that's the end of the match. But it came down to it where Ethan Page shows up, tries to hype up Pete Dunne, and then tried to keep Trick Williams down, but Trick puts him through the commentary table and gets up before the 10 count and gets the victory there.
Yeah,
so
I definitely could see what you're talking about, how it could have been taken away by all the excitement that did take place throughout the entire week.
And the outcome, I think, was very much so we knew it had to be Trick Williams versus Ethan Page for the CW. And speaking of the CW network, NXT ends with Ava in her office. She gets a phone call from CM Punk, who we know is going to be on the first episode on the CW network. But he says, I have an announcement to make and I'll be there next week.
Oh.
What his announcement for the CW network will be, I can't even come up. People are like, oh, Punk will be a special guest referee for something. He'll be do this, he'll do that. I have no idea. I think they also announced the Miz TV segment for the first episode on CW. So we'll have to wait next week to see what CM Punk announces.
I mean, we know they're going to pull out all the stops.
Yeah, 100%. You got to get those ratings up high.
Mm-hmm.
So that is NXT. Moving over to SmackDown. They have a brand new logo that I don't really like. My brain kind of registers it as Mac Own because the S and the D are combined into one letter and they're split between colors. Megan Thee Stallion and RM of BTS also have a song called Never Play that is now the theme song to SmackDown. I don't think it screams pro wrestling at all, but they are two of the biggest names in the music industry right now. It literally just came out last week or so. So I think it's a big get for SmackDown. Triple H opened the show. He hyped up the crowd and the opening contest, which was Cody Rhodes picking up the victory over Solo Sikoa in a steel cage match to retain the WWE Championship. I think the use of the cage was well done in this match. The Cody cutter from the cage was really cool. Cody got busted open. That really didn't play a factor into the match. The superplex from the top of the cage that kind of looked like a brain buster was nuts. I liked the double spinning solos that Sikoa hit. Cody Rhodes went to the top of the cage, hit a crossbody from it. I thought that was cool. And then he won with the Crossroads not long after that. And the Bloodline surrounded the ring and attacked Cody Rhodes. Solo had Fatu go to the top of the cage, and before Fatu could jump off, Roman Reigns showed up. And he entered the cage, he shut the door, he took out Gorillas of Destiny. Solo took over, and Roman Reigns ends up knocking him with the Superman punch. Jacob Fatu got him out before a spear, and then Roman Reigns called Jacob Fatu into the ring. Fatu got into the ring, but Solo dragged him out of the ring before anything could happen. Gorillas of Destiny ended up beating Roman Reigns down until Cody came to make the save. They had a nice stare down afterwards, and Nick Aldis announced that Solo Sikoa challenged Cody and Roman Reigns to a tag match at Bad Blood. Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu signed it without even reading it, and Cody told Nick Aldis that he's done with the Bloodline and he has no intention of signing the contract. I'll put a pin in that for now. After that, Mia Yim picked up the victory over Piper Niven. Mia hit Chelsea with a kendo stick. She also hit Piper with the back suplex from the bottom rope. She hit Eat Defeat and got a pretty quick win in that match. Chelsea attacked Mia Yim afterwards, though, and Piper Niven rocked her with that senton, and then Chelsea Green got a trash can involved and hit the Unpretty Her onto it. After that, we had a tag team match with a potential mystery tag team partner for Kevin Owens to face A-Town Down Under. It turned out to be Randy Orton, but an enhancement talent first came out, and Kevin Owens said that his actual partner could not make it. And then somebody told Kevin Owens that his partner made it, so Kevin Owens hit Ricky with a stunner. Randy Orton showed up. I would have been surprised if it was anybody other than Randy Orton as his tag team partner. Kevin Owens in the match had a very unique hot tag spot where he rolled out of the ring and ran around to go back into the ring and tag. So I thought that was pretty nice. We had that nice hot tag like I spoke about earlier on SmackDown last week Randy Orton ends up hitting that commentary table backdrop on both members of A-Town Down Under. RKO did dual hangman DDTs. And then Kevin Owens and Randy Orton each called for their finishers. Kevin Owens hit a stunner on Austin Theory, and Randy Orton hit that RKO on Grayson Waller to pick up the victory for the team. After that, Nia Jax showed up. She brought up Bad Blood and said she's defending the championship. It doesn't matter who she's facing. She doesn't care who it will be. Bayley came out and said she wants a rematch. Nia Jax said she doesn't need a posse like Bayley did with Damage Control to keep her championship. Bayley brought up using Tiffany Stratton to help Nia Jax win the title from her at SummerSlam. Then Tiffany Stratton came out and called Bayley pathetic. Bayley brought up beating Tiffany Stratton last week, and Stratton was like, only because Nia Jax got involved. And then Nia Jax threatened to beat Bayley down, and Naomi showed up, who also wants the championship. Nia Jax said that they should wrestle to see who will face her at Bad Blood. We have a tag team match set for next week, and Nia Jax said that whoever wins, if Bayley or Naomi get that victory, they will be the one that faces her at Bad Blood. Whoever loses leaves SmackDown. I don't think the same will work for Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, but if that were to happen, I could 100% see Tiffany Stratton going to Monday Night Raw. In the main event of SmackDown, we saw Andrade pick up the victory over Carmelo Hayes. They fought a lot of this match outside of the ring. We saw Andrade hit that flipping Russian leg sweep from the barricade. I liked at one point when they were actually in the ring, a little move that Carmelo Hayes did right before Andrade did his running knees to the corner. He was standing with his back towards Carmelo Hayes, trying to like hype himself up, get momentum. And Carmelo Hayes let out this little tiny kick to try to hit Andrade with. I thought that was a very, very nice little detail. But Andrade ends up hitting the message from the middle rope to pick up the victory. LA Knight came out afterwards and cut a promo on Andrade. They are going to have a match for the United States Championship on SmackDown next week. Throughout the night, they celebrated 25 years of SmackDown. They also had wrestlers in the crowd. Rob Van Dam was there, Vicky Guerrero, Gunther and Ludwig, Booker T and Sharmell, Sheamus, Michael Hayes, Ron Simmons, Teddy Long, William Regal, Bobby Roode, Damian Priest. They were all there. I think that's cool that they had that. The closing segment of SmackDown had Roman Reigns come out, and Roman said he doesn't need a contract. He doesn't need a partner. He doesn't need Cody Rhodes. It's family business. And he said that whether he has the Ulafala or not, he is still the only tribal chief. And then Cody Rhodes came out and questioned Roman on saying that was still his ring. It was still his WWE. Because Cody, to him, he said it was, but it's not, and it hasn't been since WrestleMania. And they both threw down the mics. You had Solo and Jacob Fatu show up. The Gorillas of Destiny attacked them from behind. Cody and Roman Reigns get the better of them. And Roman Reigns picks up the contract and signs it. And then Cody Rhodes signs it. So at Bad Blood, you have the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu taking on Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. Should be an interesting tag team match. I thought this was a pretty decent episode of SmackDown for it to be the premiere on the USA Network. The censors still suck, but at least it's not blacked out. So right now, I'm going to take a quick little break, and I'll be right back here on Markin Out.
This is the innovator of violence, Tommy Dreamer, and you're listening to Marking Out.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Markin Out episode 710. We have a lot of AEW to cover, starting from last week. AEW Collision aired first. You had Mark Briscoe pick up the victory over Lance Archer. Orange Cassidy beat Brian Keith. Takeshita picked up the win over Black Taurus. All of them did that to qualify for the match at All Out against Okada. I think the matches were fine, and I'm glad that they led to something. But I wish they would have had story going into the match for the Continental Championship to help build that title up. And I'll talk more about that title match in a second, I guess. You had the Grizzled Young Veterans pick up the victory over the Iron Savages. This was pretty much just a showcase match for the Grizzled Young Veterans. I'm happy that the Iron Savages get opportunities like this, but I would like to see more from them in AEW. FTR showed up afterwards and they brawled. Jack Jameson, I thought it was pretty funny, celebrated with FTR after the match, and he ends up eating a shatter machine for that. Then you have the Outrunners pick up the victory over August Matthews and Davey Bang. You have Enhancement Talents fighting Enhancement Talents. How that makes any sense, I have no idea. I don't know if they're going to do something more with the Outrunners other than use them as enhancement talent right now. I don't know. And maybe you wouldn't even qualify or classify the Outrunners as enhancement talent. They just haven't done anything in AEW to spark any interest other than that. You had Hikaru Shida pick up the victory over Deonna Purrazzo. I don't think this match should have taken place. Not the night before Hikaru Shida faced Mercedes Moné for the championship. The match was good, but Hikaru Shida, I don't think needed a tune-up, warm-up match, whatever this was supposed to be. Mercedes showed up afterwards, and Camille attacked her from behind. Mercedes went to use the kendo stick, but she ends up hitting Camille. Hikaru Shida got the better of them. I get what they were going for, but it just wasn't needed. An actual story going into that match, I think, was needed. Not this. And then in the main event of Collision, you had the Blackpool Combat Club and Pac pick up the victory over the Elite. Going into this match, I didn't understand why this was happening. After seeing the pay-per-view, I get why they did this. I think, for me, the coolest spot of this match was when Claudio caught Nick. I forget what move Nick Jackson was doing. I think it was the flipping the gimmick, whatever it's called. And he caught him with the big swing. I thought that was really cool. But this match ended on Rampage because Rampage aired right after that. Queen Aminata picked up the victory over Misa Kate. Very, very quick match. Serena Deeb watched this backstage. I think we'll get longer matches from Queen Aminata now. And I hope we get more segments, more meaningful segments with her and Serena Deeb. After that, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara teamed with Hologram to pick up the victory over the Dark Order. I can't keep repeating the same thing about Hologram. At some point, I just have to move on. I don't care about this character if they're going to try to tell... They're selling me Hologram as a single star, and then you immediately pair him with people. That does nothing for Hologram. And I wish that the Dark Order was where the Dark Order once was, because where they're at right now is just sad. It really is. Main event of Rampage saw the House of Black pick up the victory over the Maximum Male Models. This stemmed from the other week, and any other week this should have been the main event of Rampage. But how do you not close with a match related to the pay-per-view to sell the pay-per-view? The last thing people should see, especially you closed Dynamite last week with a segment between Hangman and Swerve, and then you chose to close Rampage with a segment of Will Ospreay just rattling things off. Nobody else knew except for him and Pac. You closed with a segment on Dynamite. You closed with a segment on Rampage. Why would you not close with a match? That, to me, that just doesn't make sense. AEW All Out took place, Chicago, Asterisk or whatever. The Acclaimed picked up the victory over the Iron Savages. The Costco guys were there for this. Dustin Rhodes, Sammy Guevara, and Hologram teamed up to take on the Premier Athletes, pick up the victory there. Bang Bang Gang beat the Dark Order. Mariah May attacked Sky Blue. Sky Blue had this big return or whatever, even though she was still injured. Mariah May announced that she's not having her celebration and then attacked Sky Blue. Undisputed Kingdom picked up the victory over Top Flight and Black Taurus and Shane Taylor Promotions. That was weird to me. I don't know if they've teamed before. It's not in my memory. The actual show started with Young Bucks picking up the victory over the Blackpool Combat Club to retain. MJF beat Daniel Garcia, which I was very much so shocked to see that be the ending. But Garcia got the better of MJF. That takes him out. The rumors went swirling that MJF is now going on a vacation or whatever, taking time off. He was literally just off. I don't understand how much more time could you possibly give MJF off. So that's weird to me. I don't know if I believe that. You had Will Ospreay pick up the victory over Pac to retain the championship. This match went exactly how I expected it to go, and it was very entertaining. Chris Statlander versus Willow Nightingale, though, in a street fight. Chris picked up the victory. I didn't like the finish because it didn't look like Willow was giving up with the chain in her mouth. But this match was so well done. That spot, though, with the table where Chris Statlander landed right on Willow, that was nasty. But this match was very well done. It was my favorite match of All Out. I think, given that match ended with the chain in Willow's mouth, I feel like this could easily set up a dog collar match between the two of them. And why not do that at Grand Slam? I think that would be really cool to see. After that, Okada picked up the victory over Takeshita, Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe to retain. You had Mercedes Moné pick up the victory over Hikaru Shida to retain. I like that trio of Falcon Arrows that Hikaru Shida hit. I really, really, really thought that the Renegade Twins were going to show up and do twin magic to help Mercedes win this. Camille was banned from ringside, and that served absolutely zero purpose. There was no payoff there whatsoever. You had Hikaru Shida contemplate using the kendo stick and risking a disqualification, risking not winning the championship. I don't know how that makes any sense, and I don't think Hikaru Shida should have lost clean if they weren't going to have any sort of interference there. It made no sense that stuff with Camille had zero payoff. After that, Bryan Danielson picked up the victory over Jack Perry to retain the championship. This, honestly, this has to be one of Bryan's worst matches post Ring of Honor. This had no business being a match. This had no business being an AEW match. Nothing like that. They had a ref bump spot where the Elite attacked Bryan. Blackpool Combat Club finally make the save and they scurried off. But that Tony Khan driver was awful. Matt doesn't drop Bryan on Nick's Impact, so you literally just see Bryan Danielson floating over the mat on that tombstone. And it's so annoying to see stuff like that because it's very easy to fix. You just drop him. Why are you holding him and posing? You're not in the spot. That's goofy. And then you have that goofy referee push Jungle Boy's leg off of Bryan during a pin. And he has the nerve to tweet out, "Oh, you didn't see the angle I saw," or whatever he said. It was so stupid. These referees are garbage. After the match, Killswitch showed up, attacked Bryan, and Christian showed up with his contract, but Jon Moxley also showed up. Pac shows up, Claudio shows up, Wheeler Yuta shows up. The Patriarchy end up backing out. And I really thought Jon Moxley was going to turn on Bryan Danielson there. I didn't expect any of that after. I did not expect Claudio to be the first person. Pac ends up holding Wheeler Yuta back. Jon Moxley throws a plastic bag over Bryan's head and suffocates him. That was... I'm not offended by that. I'm not offended by the other stuff I'm about to talk about. It's just not necessary. Because where do you go from here with Jon Moxley? And not to jump ahead to Dynamite, you don't. You didn't. So I don't know where we go. So that match, that happened. Very, very shocking, to say the least. The main event was Hangman picking up the victory over Swerve in a lights out cage match. They brawled outside the cage before the match, just like they did in Blood and Guts, which was another cage match. That just took place a few months ago. This match, very, very mid to me. I think the best part was the inclusion of that wooden stake from Swerve's house. And my favorite part of this was that house call against the cage. I thought that was a very nice spot. Hangman, though, uses a syringe in Swerve's mouth and then busted a chair over his head, which caused so much controversy on Twitter. The ref ends up calling for the bell. It's a lights out match. I thought the referee was only there to call for the count or if somebody tapped out. So I don't understand that. The syringe looked like one of those baby ones that like just suction to the inside of Swerve's cheek. I never saw an actual needle. I know in like other companies when they do syringe spots, you see the needle go through the person's cheek. I didn't see that. So I was indifferent to the spot. I should say that. Do I want to watch something like that on TV? Not really, no. Because where do you go from with that? And like that Moxley spot, you just don't. So that's AEW All Out. Moving over to Dynamite, they opened with footage from All Out with Jon Moxley. And Mox said that they built something that would last beyond them, and everywhere in AEW, he sees egos out of control. And he brought up William Regal calling Bryan Danielson the perfect wrestler, and said that he's the one true king of these lands. I guess sort of a Lion King-esque tie-in. I don't know if that was supposed to be like that, but it seemed like that. And then they tried, Moxley said that they tried it Bryan's way, and now he chooses war. So we really didn't get any sort of explanation as to why Jon Moxley did what he did. Like, what was Bryan doing that wasn't in line with what the Blackpool Combat Club was doing? Your group had the world championship. Your group has the tag team championships. What's not happening? What's not clicking in the group? That the only thing I guess that's not clicking is that Jon Moxley doesn't have a championship. So maybe they fell in line with the wrong person. You had the Patriarchy open the show. Tony Schiavone, he hypes up Darby Allin being there, only to introduce Christian instead. The fans went from cheering to booing. I thought that was funny. But he brought up Bryan Danielson and how he's going to beat Bryan so bad, Bryan will wish that Brie is the one with CTE. Which I think is just such a disgusting line to say, especially since everyone knows more about CTE now more than ever. Like, that's such a stupid line. To include CTE in a storyline, I just think is always the dumbest thing, because it's something that actually affects people, and we don't know at what point CTE is what it is. You only know once you're dead. So I don't think that should be included in storyline wise. First match, we saw Jack Perry pick up the victory over Leo Rush to retain the championship. I wish that they were going to have stories with these championships. If you're just going to have a match like this, why not have Jack Perry issue an open challenge? Then you don't need to set up a story, because the story is the open challenge. And in this match, you had Action Andretti get involved in front of the referee, and he threw a fit when he got kicked from ringside. Jack Perry antagonized him to lead him to that point, but he's the face. How are you going to throw a fit when you were cheating? So I didn't like that spot. They really didn't do much in this match, but I wasn't expecting Lio Rush to win regardless. You had Renee Paquette interview Hangman, and he said that if Swerve owned 1,000 houses, he would have burned all of them down. And he basically did what he did for his family, and he meant everything that he did. I know a lot of people, there was like discourse on Twitter being like, oh, his lip quivered. When he went back to the ring, it was because he was showing remorse. This is Hangman saying, wrong. You're wrong. I meant literally everything I did at All Out. And if you got in my way trying to get to Swerve, I'm coming for you. Which, good for him. This is truly, we're seeing, it's like the most heel stuff somebody can do, but he is in every right to have done all of this. And one of the people, he ran into the Dark Order. I thought he was going to attack Evil Uno, but Double J spoke to him and said he'll regret putting his hands on his wife, and then Hangman snapped and attacked Jeff Jarrett. I'm sure that'll lead to a match. Commander and Private Party came out for a match, but Blackpool Combat Club attacked them, and Pac said that AEW is broken, and they're a product of this environment. We're still not getting answers as to why Jon Moxley did what Jon Moxley did. But Pac said that he's no longer lost, and the company is theirs. Later on, Darby Allin called Jon Moxley out, because Jon Moxley's been wanting to chat with Darby Allin. Darby said that when he started in pro wrestling, he wanted to be just like Jon Moxley. And when they wrestled on the indies, even though he lost, it gave him confidence. And then he saw what Jon Moxley did to Bryan Danielson, and he knew that he never wants to be, or no longer wants to be anything like Jon Moxley. And ultimately, Jon Moxley wants Darby Allin's title shot that he was supposed to have against Bryan Danielson at Grand Slam. But because Bryan Danielson is not able to compete and put that championship on the line, he wants Darby's shot. And Darby said, okay, earn it. Boom, Grand Slam. That gets set up. Even later on, though, Nigel McGuinness comes out, and he said that since Darby Allin is putting the title shot on the line against Jon Moxley, there won't be a title match at Grand Slam. But even without the title on the line, the champion should still compete. And then he challenged Bryan Danielson to a match. So even though the championship match is not happening at Grand Slam due to the champion, Bryan Danielson, being injured, we'll most likely see Bryan Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness for the first time in years, which is a really cool match on paper, and I'm sure it'll be a fine match. It's just very stupid, because the whole reason why the match with Darby Allin isn't happening at Grand Slam is because Bryan is too injured to compete. So make that make sense. You can't. After that, Ricochet picked up the victory over Sammy Guevara. This was a lot of crazy spots like you would have expected. I just wish that they didn't fight outside the ring that they did, like the way they did. But this was a lot of fun. The match afterwards, Ricochet picked up that win. Black Taurus speared the absolute hell out of Ricochet. And then Sammy Guevara came back to the ring with a chair to chase Black Taurus off. I think it would have been best if Ricochet didn't get up after that spear. to sell the spear from Black Taurus, but hopefully we'll see more wins from Black Taurus. I personally don't think we will. After that, Mariah May picked up the victory over Queen Aminata. The running kick from Queen Aminata when Mariah May was sat against the ropes, I thought that was dope. That was the best part of that match. No way was Mariah May losing this. She used the Storm Zero again, and she spoke about how she still has not had her championship celebration because something is missing, someone is missing, and she called for Mina Shirakawa to come back. I think we'll probably see that end up being a match. You had the Learning Tree pick up the victory over the Iron Savages. This was nothing. The main focus was afterwards. Chris Jericho called Orange Cassidy out for his money for years ago with the stained jacket, because AEW loves returning to storylines after 4 or 5 years. And Orange Cassidy shows up on the screen and he's like, "Oh, Chris, I don't have all your money on me right now, but I have some friends who do." And then Kyle O'Reilly and Mark Briscoe show up and dump, I guess, $7,000 worth of coins into Chris Jericho's car. I wouldn't mind having that. Chris Jericho was furious. Money's money, you know? And then the main event saw Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay team up, even though they went their own separate ways. Even though Will Ospreay is a singles champion and wanted nothing to do with Don Callis. The Don Callis family reunite. Takeshita was pissed off, it seemed like that. But they pick up the victory over FTR, Grizzled Young Veterans, Maximum Male Models, The Acclaim, The Outrunners, The Righteous, Undisputed Kingdom, Top Flight, all to become number one contenders to face the Young Bucks at Grand Slam. None of these teams should have won this match. I don't care about Will Ospreay, a singles champion, teaming up with Kyle Fletcher again. And I certainly don't care about seeing them team up against the Young Bucks. And then you have next week on Dynamite, they announced the Don Callis family, even though we're going our separate ways. I really thought I could remember Will Ospreay saying he wants nothing to do with Don Callis. We're going our separate ways, but we're teaming up again to face the Elite. So that sucks. But that's AEW Dynamite. Hey, Brandon, got any shout-outs?
Hi, Billy Mays here with a brand new product for you. If you need to remove a stain, then listen to Brandon's shout-outs.
The first shout-out goes to Hoobastank. I saw them at Epcot on Friday. I only know their song, The Reason, but I enjoyed seeing them.
I hate that song so much,
Why?
so much,
Are you
so
serious?
much.
Why?
The Reason sucks. I hate it.
That's such a good song.
No way. It is so whiny. It is so whiny.
We might have had this
cannot
conversation before on the show.
Yes. I like the other song that they have, the Out of Control, I think is the song.
I think that might be a song of theirs.
Right? I think Out of Control, but The Reason is the only thing that blew up, and it is so annoying because that song just will not go away.
Well, I enjoy that song. It was my second time seeing Hoobastank. It was also at Epcot, and the main reason why I like the festivals at Epcot is because I get to see concerts that I wouldn't normally go to. So I get lucky and see stuff like that. And my next shout out goes to Yellow Card. I also saw them at Epcot. The only song I know from them is Ocean Avenue.
Them I would have loved to see.
This was an insane concert. I didn't think this was going to be crowded at all. And it turned out that they set an all-time attendance record for the festival at Epcot.
Wow.
Which is nuts. I was shocked at how long the line was. And if you know Epcot and you know World Showcase, the line went... The concert takes place in the American Adventure. The line going whatever direction went to Germany. And I think going the other way, it might have stretched to Morocco. And I've seen crazy crowds at Epcot for like Boys to Men. I've seen video footage of super crazy lines for Joey Fatone and friends. Because you get like NSYNC and stuff, kind of, technically.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen crazy lines and crazy crowds for Peter Noon. I was not expecting this for Yellow Card at all. So, good for them. They disbanded a few years ago and got back together recently, so very much so good for them.
Yeah, I've always liked the Yellow Card.
And I enjoyed the show.
Cool.
They're on a new Disney album of like pop punk Disney songs. And they performed A Whole New World live for the first time with Chrissy Costanza, who's also on the album with them. So
for the first time in
that's
forever.
literally not what I said. I said A Whole New World.
For the first time in forever.
Oh, I said for the first time live, yeah. But the song is A Whole New World, so.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Off the album, A Whole New Sound. So it was really cool to see them and hear that Ocean Avenue live. I know this song. I know Cassidy Pope sang. I can't remember what title it was that she recently did with them on. I think Good Morning America.
I Hope You Dance.
No. Only one.
Oh, that is a good one. That is a good one. These are only one.
You get really cool bands like that, and you get oldies and everything. You see the crowd and you realize you're just super old at that point.
Yeah, I'm sure. Would you ever, talking about all that, would you ever see a Frankie Valli concert now?
I saw Frankie Valli in 2000, I think 7 and 2008. One, I went to Atlantic City, I saw him, and then another, I went to Westbury Music Fair and saw him. I'm not convinced I saw him singing live then either.
I think I remember you saying that you didn't think he sang live.
I'm not 100% sure. I would really like to just meet Frankie Valli. Because I'm like a huge fan of the Four Seasons. So it's like they were literally like one of my favorite groups of all time. And it sucks to see the video footage come out.
Just
like
exploitation to the.
I don't know what's going
level.
on there. I really don't know what's happening there.
Yeah, just exploitation to another level.
I can't say he's 100% not singing, but like from what I see, it doesn't look like he's singing.
Exactly, he's just like there. I just hate to see him there too.
But I mean, if he chooses, I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows what he could choose or
I don't know.
what condition he's in or whatever.
But my final shout out goes to James Earl Jones, who unfortunately passed away this week at the age of 93. His voice was beyond iconic. He's been in so many roles. For me, I probably first saw him, Mr. Myrtle in The Sandlot. He was Mufasa in the Lion King franchise.
He was in Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
He was Darth Vader, of course, the voice.
Very, very famous roles. Obviously, Darth Vader. He was in Coming to America and so many other.
Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, and he's got an EGOT, one of the very few. Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. I think it would have been really cool to meet him and hear his voice in person.
Talking about meeting, apparently his filming of Big Bang Theory.
Oh yeah, I saw that recently.
Yeah, when he was on Big Bang Theory, that was actually the first time that he ever met
Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, Carrie Fisher. Even though that's his daughter in Star Wars, spoiler, they actually never filmed anything together because he was the voice.
I remember back in the day, people thought that he did the voice for TNA. And
I could... Okay.
I do understand it, but it is very different.
Like, it's a stretch, but it's not that far of a stretch.
Yeah.
I could hear it a little bit.
I think he was the voice for 60 seconds, right? 60 minutes, not 60 seconds.
That I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he was.
that I don't
But
know.
yeah, so many
Didn't you
roles.
see him recently on Broadway too, or
No,
no?
not James Earl Jones, no.
I wouldn't have mind seeing him in a play.
Yeah, I mean, 100% I would have gone to see him on Broadway.
Yeah, very sad.
But yeah, so check out any of his roles. I mean, they're iconic. They're iconic films, so check them out. Those are my shout outs. Now it's time for
Mark Out Moment of the Week.
That is right, our mark out moment of the week. You already said yours.
Yeah, that spot with Bronson Reed, I totally marked out for it, and I marked out over the camera angles that they had for it too. I definitely marked out for that. Oh, can I give anti-mark outs?
Oh, I don't think you need to talk negatively about All Out.
Oh, come on. Okay, I won't do it, but I'm going to do it. To take a chair shot, an unprotected chair shot,
Nah,
in
it's gimmick, brother. You don't
2024.
know. No, you don't know what you're talking about. It's gimmicked.
Give me a break. To even portray that is just poor taste. It is stupid.
Well,
I don't
what'd
understand.
What'd you think of Christian using CTE in a storyline?
I do not get that. Why is everybody now feuding or wanting a feud with Daniel Bryanson?
Brian Danielson.
Brian Danielson, whatever it is. Why is everybody okay? So he just got suffocated by Moxley and turned on by Cesaro, which would make sense to be when he gets back. His next matchup is against to get
Before you
revenge.
go on though, I didn't even mention it before. When they cut or ripped the bag off his face, they left it around his neck. And then carried him out. You couldn't get a stretcher?
Like I for the visual effect of leaving it around the neck. Come on. So he is going to so he gets choked out with a plastic bag over his face for shock value. And then what happens? What is the big follow-up? The big follow-up is that Nigel McGuinness says that he's able to wrestle and he wants to challenge Brian Danielson to a matchup at Arthur Ashe Stadium, even though his focus should be on the person that just nearly killed him, but now it's going to be diverted to Nigel McGuinness just for the hell of it.
Regardless of
where
that,
does this all make sense? And then you have Christian.
I did rant about this, by the way, but the match
But
was
then you
supposed
have
to be
Christian
Darby
for some
Allin
odd
versus
reason.
But listen, the match was supposed to be Bryan versus Darby. And the reason why that match isn't happening is because Bryan is too injured, so Darby Allin is putting that title shot on the line against Moxley because Bryan Danielson cannot wrestle.
So then Nigel McGuinness is going to challenge a man who just passed up a shot at Darby Allin to a matchup?
No, not passed up. He could not.
Well, he couldn't
have the match. He couldn't defend the championship against Darby Allin because he is too injured. And then it says if he can compete. We all know he's competing. We all know.
I mean,
they're doing
and
it.
then I'm sorry, but why? And now Christian is making verbal attacks at him too. Who the hell is he feuding with?
Well, Christian has that anywhere, anytime gimmick. So
You know what?
even
With
though I don't
AEW
think Christian needed that, but
No, and with AEW, I would laugh my butt off if it actually ends up being that he is not cleared to compete and that somebody else steps in against Nigel McGuinness, like Samoa Joe.
I don't know.
I would laugh, and yeah.
Well, back to the mark out moments of the week. I know the next DLC.
I can't
pack-
even say that my mark out moment is Nigel McGuinness announcing that he's going to wrestle again.
Like, you don't understand. I said that before also. Like, it should be a really cool thing to see, but it just makes no sense at all.
Exactly. Like, I want to see him wrestle again.
The coolest thing, by the way, I said it the other week, the coolest thing at All In was the fact that Nigel McGuinness returned and, like, it felt like nobody was talking about it.
Exactly. I thought that, and And I think that we saw his last wrestling match too. Were you with us?
I wasn't there. No, I wasn't with you.
Yeah, I still regret. I feel like I really should have bought that T-shirt. They had an event T-shirt that looked really cool. But yeah, that should be the markout moment of the week, but it is not. Sorry, Nigel, not today. Soccer kick to you out of the markout moments.
So the next DLC for WWE 2K24 comes out next week, but 2K showed everybody off from the pack, and I think they look incredible. The one thing that I hate about this, Jade Cargill has her short hair, which when she was announced as DLC, I don't think I saw anybody saying we want the short hair. Everybody was like, please do not give her the short hair. So I feel like sometimes 2K just likes to mess with their fan base. She looks great, but it's just annoying that she has that hair instead of the shoulder length hair. But Nia Jax, Michelle McCool, Carlito, Dragon Lee, Kairi Sane, and Lyra Valkyria also all look great. Another gripe, I did say I just had one gripe. Another gripe of mine, Lyra Valkyria has green lipstick on. And I think the only time I could even see her wearing that was in a promo shot for a match. So I don't think she's ever actually wrestled with that green lipstick on, so I wish that wasn't there. But I'm very excited for this pack. It seems like we'll have like a really crazy roster next year. Because Jesse Ventura signed a Legends deal. Jacqueline and Victoria announced that they signed Legends deals. Jesse Ventura already popped up in the digital card game. So I have to assume that they'll also all be popping up in WWE 2K25. So my fingers are crossed for that. I'm
just going to add another markout moment was, oh man, why am I now? The Gunther name-dropping Goldberg to Bret Hart. I marked for that. I popped.
Something I spoke about earlier. I mentioned them. The Costco guys reposted our TikTok. They liked it and they commented. So I thought that was really funny because on the kickoff show, they gave Excalibur a boom on All Out, and I wasn't standing for that because Excalibur's garbage. So I posted that and I wrote Doom instead of Boom. And they reposted that. It got some good coverage. So I appreciate the Costco guys for that.
Oh, I know what I could give a mark, kind of another anti.
Well, I'll finish the markout moments, I guess. The WWE Vault uploaded a UPW match of Adam Pearce versus Diamond Dallas Page from 2004, which was in itself very crazy to see. UPW was a developmental territory for WWE, and DDP's last match in WWE up until that point was 2002. So I don't know if they were looking to bring him back in 2004 or what that was about. But this channel just, the gems that they've been uploading have been great.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
What is your one more?
Okay, they announced the PWI Top 100 list.
500?
And whatever it is. The top 500. The PWI Top 500 list. Cody Rhodes, congratulations, he's number 1. But how the hell is Drew McIntyre not in your top 10? But MJF is in the top 10. You have Naito in the top 10. You have Willow Spree in the top 10 at number 3. When who the hell watches his matches anymore?
What do you
You
mean,
have
everybody?
Mystico
Well,
making it
shouldn't
into the
say
top
everybody.
10.
Yeah, Mystico was very surprising to be there.
I mean, Moxley,
I
sure.
somewhat get that, but also at the same time don't.
I mean, but Drew McIntyre not making your top 10 is insanity.
But why McIntyre? Why?
I think McIntyre has had a great year. a great year. I think that
I think maybe
stepped...
because he lost the title and everything, and
But even, I mean, Swerve Strickland lost his title. Seth Rollins is pretty much on a losing streak.
Swerve, the cutoff already probably would have happened by that time.
I mean, I think McIntyre for the entire year has been incredible. He's been maintaining an entire storyline with somebody who's not even able to get in the wrestling ring.
You said Seth Rollins is on it?
Seth Rollins, okay, so number 1 is Cody. Number 2 is Swerve Strickland. 3 is Will Ospreay. 4 is Seth Rollins. 5 is Naito. 6 is Damian Priest. 7 MJF. 8 Jon Moxley. 9 Gunther. 10 Mystico.
Yeah, so maybe McIntyre should be on that list.
Exactly. Like, don't get me wrong. I think MJF is doing a good job and everything like that. And Will Ospreay,
has been missing for half a year, so...
Exactly. That's the thing. He's been missing for a bit. Will Ospreay, I just can't get into his matches. It's all acrobatic and stuff like that. I get it. People like him, but it's just not my thing all the time. But for Drew McIntyre not to make the top 10, that just seems off to me. Big time.
I mean, the whole list, always. And I hate WWE celebrating. They celebrated Cody being number 1. It's so goofy.
Yeah.
I never understand how that list is made.
I know. I mean, I love the fact that Damian Priest did get the recognition to make it up there.
Yeah, but I don't care for the list in general.
I mean, 100%. Drew McIntyre should have been up there. I mean, you could even made an argument that Ilya Dragunov could have been up there.
Well,
yeah.
Those are the mark out moments and not mark out moments of the week. That is episode 710. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at Markin Out, at BTTG161 on all platforms. Chris Sweendog, CM Sweeney85, David PTDPT on all platforms. Facebook.com/markingout. YouTube and Instagram is markingout11. You can watch our shorts on YouTube. I've also been uploading a bunch of content on TikTok at markingout. ProWrestlingTees.com/markingout. You could check us out on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, iHeartRadio, markingout.com. We wish you
the Jey Uso should have been up there higher too. Yeet. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Have a fantastic week. Hold on, Roman Reigns isn't even ranked? Are they dumb?